My name is Wanjiku. I'm a counseling psychologist. The topic I'd like to discuss is being a foreigner in my own country. I am a woman who is in her mid-60s. I was born and brought up during the time when Kenya was going through a very difficult time because it was a period where the Africans turned against the British rule and decided to fight for the independence of this country. As a result, there were a lot of brutality, killing, and all kind of torture that was taking place. As a little girl, I had no understanding what it was all about. However, the reality of this hit me many years later. I have traveled widely. I have even lived in foreign countries, and I have been back in my own country. And I'm now facing the reality which I have been experiencing in my life for quite some time now. A colonizer, when they come into a country, have no consideration or regard of people's culture and traditional or education or even their religious values. So the first thing that happened was to strip everything that our forefathers were. And as a result, they decoded our thinking and recorded back us in a different way. And that process separated us from our parents. For example, education that was introduced was meant to fit in the Western world. The languages that were used were totally foreign. And as a result, as we became educated, there was total disconnection with our past. For example, with the English language that we have learned and we have tried to use, has a lot of limitation. You see, you can learn a language, but that's all you can learn. You can never learn about the culture, the values, the tradition of the people that you have acquired their language from. And therefore, for many of us, the disconnected also disconnected our children and even many generations to come. Our forefathers were very conversant with everything about our environment. My grandfather could have told you about many kinds of trees and their values, and particularly the medicinal value. They could even have told you many things about different birds and also their characters. They could even tell you about many kinds of plants that were growing around us. They could even tell us about different seasons and even what to grow and which season was suitable for what crops. That education was completely disconnected from us because, number one, our parents did not have the English words to explain to us those things. Neither are they able to explain to our grandchildren. They used to tell us stories about their past. Those stories were very useful to us. They also used to tell us rituals that they took place and the reason for those rituals, and also the way they worship their God. They also used to tell us about how they took care of the environment to ensure that water and the ground is not polluted. And they also knew how to take care of the environment so well that they knew that if you take care of the environment, it will also take care of you. All those things were stripped off from us. When a country is colonized, you lose everything of who you are, and you acquire everything that is total foreign to you. In the process, since you cannot fit in the English culture and language and also lifestyle, neither do you fit in your own. You are like water that is floating, somebody that is floating in the air without anywhere to land into. So those are some of the difficulties and the experiences that we have gone through. This was deliberately designed because once you're stripped off everything, you have to become like a beggar of information because information is given to you accordingly. My feeling at this point is that though we lost so much, there can be still a way to reclaim who we are. But unfortunately, The colonizers were very clever because they knew what they took out of the country. Plus, the first interest is the resources of the country. They have no interest of the human person. And therefore, even after they have left this country, they had made sure that they continue to exploit the resources, because now African continent has become a slave of the West. We produce the coffee, the tea, the cocoa, and even the gold that is produced, it all go to the West. The question is, did we have to lose our language and culture? Did the white person lose their own culture and the language? You can see the politics around the language of the Europeans. For example, the Germans always has retained their language. The Dutch people, the Danish people, the English people, the French people, they all have kept the language because they understand the value of one's language. Even the countries that they have colonized, they have never attempted to learn to use those languages. So the point that I'd like to put across here is that we lost so much, it takes so many years to recover. And we are seeing some of the effect of what we have lost. Recently, there has been a conflict between the Christian churches and the traditional African community in an attempt to take their young people through the rituals of circumcision or the rite of passage. For years, there was a way in which the rite of passage was done by our communities. That was lost through the Western civilization, education, and also the religion. Recently, an attempt to reclaim that from the elderly people of our community has caused a lot of conflict. And right now, the issue was even discussed in Parliament because it has become a crisis. The other point I'd like to make across here is that the language domination is a false information to the people. For example, British own most of their colonies, and they continue to harvest the resources from those colonies, still retaining their language. The Chinese themselves are now the superpower of the world, technology-wise, information-wise, name it. However, Chinese uses their language. This is because when you learn things from your own language, when you retain your culture, you're able to move forward. But for many of us in Africa, we are completely stranded. We are neither going or coming. But it is very, very important for us to put our minds together and to see that we are lost people and we need to find a way of putting the pieces back together. Thank you.